And Brian, this is Mike Francesa on WFAN in New York. How you doing?
Doing good, Mike. Long-time listener, first-time guest.
Thank you very much. I'm glad you're familiar with the program. Tell me, now I haven't spoken to Charlie since the summer. I don't speak to him much during the season. I usually bump into him sometimes. I've known him forever. But how bad is it at Notre Dame? Are the drums starting to beat a little bit about Charlie and his future at Notre Dame?
After Saturday, yeah. It was just really an abject failure, and an abject failure kind of traceable back to Charlie for just such an abysmal effort at Boston College. I mean, and the problem for Charlie was that at the beginning of the week, he advertised to everybody how he was going to motivate the team, what kind of jolt he was going to give them after a pretty deflating Pittsburgh loss in the multiple overtimes. He advertised to everybody what he was going to do, this master plan for getting the team out of the doldrums, and then it's just a total no-show at Boston College. So after that, after the last two losses, you blew a two-touchdown lead against Pittsburgh at home. You don't show up at Boston College. He's in some trouble. I don't know how much trouble he is in, but he's very much – there's some significant doubts about him right now.
Brian, we know that he got that contract after year one. We know it's a big contract. He's got 7 years left on it. We also know that the alums and a lot of the old players and a lot of the alums don't like Charlie. They haven't liked him since he got there. A lot of the vocal ones, who have had a lot to say, the old players, Kuchenberg and Bonacani and guys like that. Do you think he has worn out his welcome to the point with that group that it is dangerous for him?
I think he's just got to worry about whether he's worn out his welcome with the guys with the deep pocketbooks. I mean, the greatest kept secret in the world is what exactly this buyout is, this massive contract that he's got. Now, if you have an alumni, if you have someone who's a booster, an alum who's sufficiently ticked off that he's willing to dig in his pocket for 5, 10, 15, 20, whatever it's going to cost you to get rid of them.
Well, how many million, what would it cost them in your mind? What would it cost them to get rid of Charlie? How much money is it going to cost them to buy out that contract?
I'm only going semi on guesswork because I know last January, this is January 2007, Peter King was reporting that for Charlie to get out of the deal to go to the NFL, it was going to cost him $12 million.
Right.
Now, I don't know if the deal, Notre Dame out of the deal is the same. Certainly, I'm sure it changes as time goes on. I'd have a hard time believing that it's much less than $10 million. I think that would be a fair ballpark estimate to guess at this point. I emphasize I'm only guessing because obviously Notre Dame being a private institution, you have your hands on the contract.
Right, but it's going to be a big chunk of change, is what it comes down to.
It's going to be a big chunk of change, and we've been discussing this. Is it the amount of money you have to pay Charlie to get rid of him, or is the greater concern keeping the money coming in from those influential donors, from NBC, and just making sure your product is making as much money? Because, this place is a money factory. The question is, do you have someone do you have in this economy the capability of stepping up and cutting a huge check to get rid of a guy? And that's, the $1 million or $10 million question, wherever you want to put it.
Listen, we're talking with Brian Hamilton, Chicago Tribune. He covers the Irish, the Fighting Irish. We're talking about the future of Charlie Weis. A lot of stories today about it as Notre Dame gets ready to go to Baltimore to play Navy this week off a shutout loss last week to BC. Third time they've been shut out recently, and they've lost 13 of their last 21. As Charlie lost, Brian, covering him, has he lost any of his bravado? Have you seen him back off from the kind of bravado that he can? He came in there, and we know how Charlie is. Charlie likes to be very blustery. He's very bold. He made a lot of statements when he came in there. Has he backed off any of that?
Yes. I think he's, I've only covered him since last year, but from the guys who have been around him since he started here, it's different. Now, he hasn't, Leopard hasn't completely changed his spots here. He's still got that bravado, that East Coast, that Parcells, Belichick part of him that's got, like you said, the bluster. But even asking him today about this, someone asked him flat out in the press conference, based on the reaction we're getting as writers over the weekend, why is he still the right man for the job? He gave kind of a very measured answer to that where, maybe you'd have expected him to get either just angry or defensive or just, pound his chest a little bit. He kind of just said, well, I think we got good players, and I think we got good coaching staff mechanics, and he kind of just let it go at that. So I think he was extremely humbled by what happened last year. And I think he's been humbled to a degree about what's gone on this year when the strides just haven't been there. So he's a different guy. He's not completely changed, but, I think in the offseason someone got to him and said, you got to start acting like the head coach of Notre Dame, not just this, Parsons wannabe.